Now it's time to test your knowledge and understanding of what we learned in this course. So in this exercise, create a REST service using Spring Boot, publish the service at localhost, and use Postman to access the service. Now I want you to pause this video and attempt all the exercises, and then come back to view the solutions so you understand how well you've attempted. To build a REST service, we'll be creating a new Spring Starter project. Let's name this service as Exercise 2. Click Next. We'll be adding Web, then click Next and Finish. So the project is created, and it will provide all the dependencies along with the class. Now in order to create a REST service, we have to add a representation class, and that representation class can be created under the src main folder. We'll name the class as Greeting, and then click Finish. Now that the class is created, we'll specify certain arguments and import the setters and getters methods. For this, we'll import the required piece of code. So now our representation class is ready. Now let's create a controller class under the same folder. We'll name the class as Hello World Controller. And click Finish. We'll be adding 2 annotations on this controller class. The first annotation is @controller to signify that this is a controller class. The second one is request mapping, so we will add @request mapping. We will further specify the annotation by adding the URI, which we want to use to access the particular service. We'll say Hello World, a popular Hello World program. The next step is to specify the methods that will take the responsibility of handling the requests. So we'll be writing a few statements in the code section, and the statements will take the responsibility of building the core code. While importing the code or the statements, we have to make sure we are using the right packages. Let's make the necessary changes to remove these errors. Save these codes and statements. So now we have the required controller as well, and it gets invoked when we use Hello World. So now let's run this newly created application, Exercise 2. Just before we run it, just make sure all the other running services are stopped. Let's run this as a Spring Boot app now. After it is started, bring up the console. You'll see the application is running on the port 8080 by default. We will also find the context that we've built, which is the Hello World controller, and it specifies Say Hello. We will also find the URL pattern that we'll be using for this application. We will now test this newly created service using Postman. We will check whether this service has been successfully deployed and is in running state, or are there any errors. To access the service, enter the URL of the service in this address bar. We've hosted the application on localhost with the default port 8080. Also, to ensure that we're specifying the right URL, let's add Hello World to complete the URL. So we can see the content has returned Hello Stranger, and this is how we will be able to test our RESTful web services using Postman.